Good morning. Thanks for joining this webinar where the organizers actually outnumber the attendees. Certainly was not our intention. Anyway, my name is Rich Freiberg. I am a very different kind of CPA firm, and I learned something, a real epiphany in 1999. I had pretty much lost at that point one of my largest clients, and I attended a webinar principally for free CP credits, which we all need as CPAs, and for a free breakfast. Little did I know that that meeting was going to completely transform my practice. One of the first questions that was asked to us is, what do you think your clients want from you? And I'm like, well, my clients want me to keep their books. They want me to do their tax returns. And the moderator said, Rich, I didn't ask you what your clients need. I ask you what your clients want. And me being a New York CPA at the time says, is there a difference? And he said, there certainly is. Do you think your clients really care about their accounting, bookkeeping, taxes? He said, how many people really push you for your financial statement and your tax return? I said, well, not very many. So do you think they might want your help in running their business more profitably and efficiently? He says, yeah. I said, do you think they might want your help in retaining staff? He says, yeah. Do you think they may want your help in making their business more efficient? I says, yeah. He says, do you think you know where I'm going from here? And he said, yeah. And that kind of led me into profitability consulting, which is what I've been doing since 1999. Now, admittedly, this is not something that happened like I just, trying to snap my finger. I don't know if it showed up on the screen. This took me about 6 to 9 months to talk to my clients, discover, which is a pretty critical word, what was really ailing them in their business. And we're going to go over a bunch of case studies from both Nikki and myself that are going to demonstrate exactly what this process is. And, for me, it made me work less hours, made myself far happier, and made me more money. The same with the client. They became more successful, more efficient in their operations, and were able to do all the things they were not able to do in the past. So this kind of exemplifies what somebody can do if they're interested in changing how their practice operates. Nikki, that was my introduction. It's up to you now.
Thanks, Vic. So I think before starting this webinar, we came to the thought that it's just CPA is just a rubber stamp, right? This question comes to my mind. Are they just merely just overseeing a team of bookkeepers, right? Or is they mainly only focus on the compliance or just accurate financial reporting, right? So these are the three things which generally every CPA focuses upon, right? So that's the reason we came up with this webinar, and we invited a lot of CPA friends so that they can meet the leadership team. They can learn more about how they can expand their practice, right? They can understand what challenges are coming in their practice. So day in, day out, every time they come up with some problems, right? And they're not able to focus on just other things. They just only want to focus on doing auditing, or they just focus on doing the tax work, or they just focus on doing the accounting, right? So these are the challenges which CPA firms faces. And I just want to understand, and I just want to understand my CPA team members who will be joining the webinar about their problems. And we have a couple of poll questions during the webinar, which definitely help us also to understand their challenges. And this is the whole purpose of doing this webinar series, right? So hope we don't have much participant right now, but as we make them more aware about this process. As Rick mentioned, it's a discovery process, right? It's not a one-time activity, right? So it's a discovery process. So it takes time. And I know most of the CPAs as of now, they got busy in doing their tax filings for this next 3 to 4 months, right? But what after that? Like they have 9 months left. So I think this is something they should focus upon. and we just came out with this research paper, how they can unlock their firm potentials, how they can transform their practice. So that's something which about why the webinar is being conducted, right? So Rick, do you want to take the case study which
Yeah,
you just done for your clients?
yeah. Now, this is a very, very large client that I worked with many years ago. And I don't want anybody to think that all I do is work with multi-billion-dollar companies. But I was working with somebody in the financial industry, and they had a client, large apparel, multi-billion-dollar apparel company. They were also a manufacturer, an importer, a retailer, and a wholesaler. They were in New York City. They were interviewing me to work on some ancillary tax returns because they had one massive business. They had a couple of smaller businesses. And I'm sitting there, I'm wondering, why is a CEO and a CFO interviewing me to do a bunch of small tax returns? So I decided I'm going to have a little bit of fun with this. So I started asking them questions about what's going on in their business. And the CFO turns to the CEO, and I see the little imperceptible nod, and I'm like, okay. First question I ask is, what's going on in your business? And they said, well, we're having a very difficult time understanding where we're making money, where we're not making money. I said, what kind of systems are you using? I'm kind of going a little bit out of order here. They were using, and this is in the 2000s, they were using a hardware system from the 1970s, and they were also using QuickBooks. Now, QuickBooks is a great program if you're a startup company, you're doing $2, $3, $5, $10 million. But if you're operating pretty much all over the world and you're a manufacturer, it just flat out doesn't work. Now, the other issue was their staff was not really fabulous at using more upgraded programs. So while I was not able to really bring in, without completely changing their staff, a top-flight accounting program, I did bring in something that addressed their issues but allowed them to retain their staff, which was certainly really important for them. Now, one of the things that they were able to do now is they're actually able to measure where they're making money, which salespeople are making money, what customers are making money for them, which they were not able to measure before. The other thing that came out of that is they never knew when to reorder anything. And you can imagine why that's important, not having a lot of useless inventory sitting there just putting a drain on your cash. The other thing that came out of this is one salesperson had an incredible track record in chargebacks. Now, the industry is very different than most. The standard rate chargebacks is about 10% in this industry. He was doing like half of 1%. So I asked what his secret was, and he told me what he was doing. So I went to management. I said, this person has an incredible track record, which we first discovered now that we're actually operating with real software. I said, would you like some help in him sharing it with all the other salespeople? And they were ecstatic. I said, look, I think we need to cut him in for some of the savings. All right, if you're doing $3 billion and you can shave a massive amount off $250 to $280 million in chargebacks, yes, the government's subsidizing part of it, but some of that saving should go to him. And we came out with a formula. The end of the day is the company made well over $100 million a year more. The salesperson was ecstatic. The other people were also ecstatic because they were getting bonuses also. So in this way, everybody won. The company is able to operate more profitably. They're able to operate knowing their numbers, all of them. And this large accounting firm that I completely replaced, all they were doing for them is quarterly financial reports and tax returns. Well, I picked up the big tax return also. And I said, as far as the financial statements, you don't need very much. All they're doing is taking your numbers, and any accountant on the call knows there's some recurring journal entries, prepaying some insurance, accruing depreciation, accruing some payroll, some other expenses. I can show you that in 5 minutes. Problem solved. I made a a large amount of money because I basically set my fees based on what I do to help them out. So if I'm able to help somebody save, 8 and 9 figures, they tell me what they're comfortable investing in me to achieve that result.
So,
And that's kind of
yeah,
typical of the things that I do for clients these days. It's asking them questions, discovering what's going on in their business, and coming up with novel solutions. It's not just taking an order like the person at the fast food store will do for you. They just take an order, but what they do is they ask you, want to supersize that? They give you a drink and fries or whatever they do in these fast food joints. It's approaching a client or a situation with a completely open mind, completely empty glass, and asking questions and basically rolling around in the mud with these clients and helping them. I mean, isn't that what we're all here to do?
yeah. So, Rick, how, what advice you want to say, right, on the CPA firms? Like you had a case study, right? So, what advice you give to the CPA firms or an accountant or probably an attorneys, right, who can expand their business through this case study?
This is really what it comes down to is learning the process that I learned back in 1999.
Yeah,
And I think it is teachable, but a lot of firms that I've come across in the past, and I've worked with probably at least half a dozen accounting firms in the past, and they usually said, you know what? We want no part of this. We agreed that this should be done because you have to get a consensus of all partners in the firm. But
right,
we're very happy, you doing this for us and being a representative of our firm. So I get a card, Rich Freiberg at the ABC accounting firm, and we all make a lot more money because I take a percentage of whatever they get as a result of it. And these are all types of services that don't get charged out at standard hourly billing rates. So that makes a big difference. It also improves your staff retention because, as we're going to go over later, staff doesn't feel very challenged today.
right.
Once you discover the opportunities there and put things in place to address those, the
Mm-hmm.
staff now is not doing work that can be outsourced to Nikki and his team
Right.
to do for you.
Yeah. So Rick, like what I have read about a lot of articles, right? And I think what I think the last week I just read one article which says that it's from AICPA, which says that 75% of the CPAs is going to retire in next 15 years, right? So this is something a very kind of a challenging situation in this tax season, right? And I learned a lot from the articles which says that now the AICPA has changed their curriculum because they saw many people quitting jobs as an accountant, right? And there are very less enrollment in CPA programs. So the AICPA has come up with certain changes in their curriculum, and they also included a kind of a data analytics in their curriculum. Plus, they also included internal controls, and they also included a process where every CP has to learn some sort of how they can do process audits, right? So this is something which they came up, and what I learned from the CPA firms or my friends, there are 4 to 5 key problems. Is the number one is the staff bandwidth, right? And as and when the accountants are leaving their job because they are not being increasing the salary, or probably they are not feeling well in terms of their scope or their learning capabilities, because the technology is changing, right? Day in day out, the technology advancements are there, and there are less adoption in terms of the technology. So nobody wants to do a monotonous job. So what I see is like accepting or adopting the technology is something is a very key for every CPA firm. I also noticed that the CPA firms are just focused on doing their tax returns and accounting work, right? But they have to expand their horizon, and they have to also look forward other advisory services, which can be a kind of their fraud investigations because they have tie up with their clients. They know their client, and one process they must include in their discovery calls with the client is know their client. Yeah, they don't have to just focus on one scope, that is doing the taxation and accounting. They must set up a kind of a meetings with their clients just to know their client. They should read them horizontally and vertically what client need. That is something, give them a scope of an advisory services, right? And that's something the future, the profits, the revenues, they lie into this advisory services, right? And one more problem which my CPA friends share with me is how they decide their pricing strategies, right? Some charges on a flat fee, some charges on hourly rates. They find very tough to conclude their hourly rates because they don't have any budget system, right? We did a case study on one of the attorney firms, and we built a budget system for all the attorneys, and we see like in a couple of 5 to 6 months, they started achieving their budgets. Their profitability got improved. So these are the challenges which CPA firm faces, and I think they need someone, a strategic partner who can guide them or who can be their kind of who can show them the way ahead, right? That's something how they can build their practice into a profitable practice.
Okay, you brought up some really good points. And I didn't share the papers, but you spoke about the AICPA. Now, probably 10 or 15 or so years ago, both the AICPA and Intuit, the large, well, they make QuickBooks and TurboTax and ProConnect Tax and a bunch of other products for CPA firms. They both came out with white papers saying how they envision the CPA firm of the future. And they
Right.
both spoke about just these issues. It's all about outsourcing and collaboration. Now, a lot of firms may not have the ability to just drop a pin and just turn their entire firm around, but there are ways that can be done. And I think that one of the I don't know if you can bring this up, Nikki, one of the LinkedIn posts I shared with you,
Yeah.
but probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, there was a post on LinkedIn similar to what Nikki was talking about. The future of the accounting profession. 300,000 accountants were going to be leaving the profession. Why? Well, they're not being challenged. They're not getting paid enough. They're working too many hours. This is kind of like the first case study I shared. If you can make your firm and your people not have to work so many hours, have happier clients, uh, be happy yourself, and make more money. Well, certainly the IRS in the state that you're operating, or states that you're operating in, they're collecting more tax revenue, so they're happy as well. These are not impossible things to achieve, but you can do it. I think the big issue is a lot of us old timers, and I raised my hand. I'm an old timer. I'm 66 years old. I've been doing this for well over 45 years already. A lot of us are very slow to change, kind of like the dinosaur. But you know what? The dinosaur is extinct now.
Right.
Uh, Hopefully, we're not going to be for a while. But if you want to bring in those people into your firm and you want to keep them, which should be really critical, you have to figure out what they're looking to do. And it's pretty
Right.
much not only doing the discovery I spoke about on your clients, it's doing the discovery on your staff. Because you know what? If they don't want to work with you, they will open up the accounting firm that they envision for themselves. And your firm, everything you spent your life building up will go the way of the dinosaur. Because the other thing that I've noticed over the years, and there was a time not that long ago, where if you sold your accounting firm, you were getting 1.5 to 2 times your collections. Those numbers have not been halved, they've been cut down by 2/3 or even more. Why? People don't want to buy traditional compliance-driven practices. They want to buy a practice with a niche in there that they can continue to work and become profitable. And they're willing to pay for that, a lot more money. So let's say you had a firm that you thought you could sell for $3 million. Now you sell your firm for $800,000. How is that going to impact your retirement? Will you be able to live the lifestyle that you were hoping to live?
Right.
The answer is probably not. Vicky, do I have time for another case study now?
Yeah, so I just want to just take one point, right? Like I think 2 weeks back, we had a discovery call with one of the CPAs, and like they want to understand how they can cut cost, right? Because many CPA firms they are more driven by their workforce, right? So we just did a calculation, and like if you can just show the calculation on the screen. We just did a calculation in our case study, right? So it says that we just did a comparison of hiring in-house staff or doing an outsource, right? So we just came across the hourly rates, right? So if you hire a full-time accountant, so that can cost you 34 hour per dollar, like $34 per hour. But similarly, if you outsource, I think all those accounting and your work to the outsourced partners, it just costs you $11 per hour. So that's almost one third of your in-house accountant, right? So this is how we help our friends or the CPA firms just to minimize the cost. Like even if you have three accountants, so possibly you can save $1,000, right? On just by changing your accounting model or just by changing your hiring strategies. So this is one of the thing which we came across during our case studies and during our discovery call. And uh, we also help CPAs just by introducing the referral programs, right? Because like if I'm sitting, I'm doing just my accounting and taxation work, you should invest time, and that's my advice to my CPA friends. They should invest time in just doing and in just learning their clients what they want, right? And they can just did a partnerships or a kind of a referral partnerships with other firms, right? Where if they don't have any specialization, let's say in internal audits, if they don't have specialization in internal controls, if they don't have specialization in how to set up the process, or if they don't have any specialization on making a strategic thinking or profitability consulting, right? They can outsource, they can tie up their practice with other firms because you can't be specialized in each and every things. So that can also give you a referral or a passive income. So that can also help you to expand your services. So I met with one my CPA like in the last I think last week webinar. So he just started the practice in like 2012 with just a $2 million revenue, and in just 10 years, right, he's just sitting at like $350 million of revenue. And he just gave one advice to all the participants that just do not focus on tax or accounting, focus on other thing as well, right? Know your clients. Your clients are more interested in getting a business solutions, not just tax solutions, not just accounting solutions. And that's something he did, right? Just in 10 years he just multiply his revenue, I think, 100 times. So that strategies, I think the CPA firms or an accountant or a law firm should implement within their practice.
Yeah, that's really critical, Nikki. So thanks for sharing. And that's only one side of the equation, cutting costs. The larger thing is bringing in more revenue. I mean, if your labor cost is 30 or 40% and you could shave it by 30%, well, that's one thing. If you can take your income, and I've worked with enough accounting firms in the past to be confident in saying if you're a $3 million accounting firm, I'm comfortable in saying that I could take your top line up to $10 million inside a year or two. Now, if you're operating a $3 million firm and your payroll is $1 million and you can shave that down to 700,000, you save 300,000. Granted, if I can show you how to go from 3 million to 10 million, that's a much greater return. And a lot of people, they tend to focus on smaller things. And that kind of goes into my second case study. This particular client that I work with was a multi-million-dollar medical manufacturer supplier. They did like topical creams and things that you sold to hospitals and pharmacies. His issue was he was a terrible micromanager, and he would spend his entire day with low-paid staff coming into his office and asking him the exact same questions. And one day I said, "Look, I'm gonna be in your office. I'm gonna be on my laptop. I'm gonna work. I'm gonna bill you like half of what I normally bill you. I want to see what your day looks like." And all I saw was a steady stream of people walking in and out of his office asking him the same questions. And I started asking him, "How much you paying that person?" And he tell me $50,000. Remember, this is 15 or so years ago. I said, "What would the position normally pay if you hired the right person?" "Oh, at least 80,000." I sent him a study conducted by Robert Half, the outsourced hiring firm. And what the statistics said from that paper is that every person that you hire costs you like 50% more. So if you have to continue to hire people over and over again and train them over and over again, you're not saving $30,000. You're blowing $120,000.
Mhm.
And it's, it was over and over and over again. He had plenty of other issues. He was usually penny wise and pound foolish. So another one, he was a manufacturer operating with QuickBooks and some type of manufacturing inventory program. Now I said, "Tony, you can go out and spend $40,000 and get Great Plains software, which means you don't need two softwares." "Oh, I'm not spending $40,000. I said,
Mhm.
"Well, let's take a look at what's being wasted here." Every week, I think it was a Tuesday, it might have been a Thursday. I'm gonna say it was Tuesday, because I don't remember. Every Tuesday, from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock, he shut down his entire computer system, which basically
Mhm.
meant that anyone operating on his system could not operate. It's okay, now let's look at your payroll.
Mhm.
How much are you paying, these 8 or 10 people for 3 hours? And we discovered it was certainly substantially more than $40,000 over a year. I said, not only that, when he would push the interface or link button or whatever he called it, the numbers were not always accurate. So now, not only was he wasting a whole host of money, he wasn't even getting accurate numbers. The other challenge he had, because he really did not have proper bookkeeping or accounting staff, is he had no job cost system. And I would, when I had brought someone in to help do that, we found out one of his, maybe the fifth largest product he was selling, was actually losing 50 cents for each item sold. He said, "Well, I'll just sell more." I said, "You don't understand. If you sell 100,000 of them and lose 50 cents an item, you
Right.
just lost $50,000. So selling 1,000,000 will make your loss of that item $500,000. Now, there are things that we could probably do to make your operations more efficient, but his issue was he never wanted to spend the money to do that. P.S. Years later, after we stopped working together, he sold his business, probably lost a boatload of money. The people operating his business now have probably taken revenue up 10 times because they learned how to operate a business. And I worked with them for a period of time to help show them how to do that. But it kind of shows that you really need a business mind and not be a penny pincher and not
Right.
be a micromanager if you want to succeed
Right.
in business. Your staff can be your most valuable asset.
Right.
They tend to know the inner workings of your business most likely better than you do.
Right.
And if you're open to getting those ideas, they can help you in ways you can't even imagine.
Mm. Mm. And I need to add one point here, Rick. Like as you mentioned that the CPAs are they should not be a micromanagers, right? And as you mentioned that the adoption of technology, right? I think nowadays, right, adoption of technology is something is key for every business to grow, right? If I see the CPA practice, right, even if we have implemented in our firm, right from getting a lead to a conversions, right? Sending them ELs, sending them bills, sending invoices, payments, managing expenses, right? Managing payrolls, right? And like we have automated everything, right? So that I can just buy a software and I can easily automate things, which is something monotonous for an admin staff or if you hire in-house staff. So I think adoption of technologies, adoption of more relevant or more latest technologies is something key to the business because if you're not implementing the technologies, probably you can handle like 10 clients if you're not implementing right technologies. But if you're implementing more technology advancements, you can probably handle like 30 to 40 clients. So this is something a CPA firm must understand that adoption of technology is something key for retaining their clients, for growing their practice, right? And also they can expand themselves into a new horizons. So this is something which I understood during my practice, right? And we also have made a lot of dashboards, right? So I think monitoring KPIs is something which is very important. So we went into our data analytics division where we help clients monitoring their performance. So, like, if I'm going to a client asking for a tax solution, probably he just discussed only like 10 minutes with me. But if I'm going to client and asking them, okay, I can monitor your KPIs, right? You should not look at your spreadsheets just to monitor your performance. Just go on visual dashboards. Just go on your mobile. Just go on your computers and just look at the dashboards or your performance of your clients. So, like, he was so much into this, and it just he spent 3 hours with me just to understand process, right? And that gave me a more motivation that this is something client wants. They don't want just accounting and taxation work. So I think you need to self-evaluate, you need to think day in, day out about your partnerships, about your tie-ups, about finding new firms, finding new services. This can help you grow your practice in a short span.
That's a good point, Nikki. Most accountants, they deliver a financial report. And frankly, if you just deliver a financial report to your clients, or even worse, you put it in the mail to them and you go see them, sometime later, that report will be in an envelope unopened in their desk.
Right.
So chances are your client has no idea how they're doing.
Hmm.
Using KPIs or key performance indicators is not only good, for your practice, it's great for your clients. And if you can show them how they stack up to
Hmm.
people in their industry or people uh, in their region, then you can help show them how they can make themselves or improve themselves and make them better. But if you don't
Hmm.
even know how you're doing, there's just absolutely no way you can measure yourself. And that kind of goes into, another case study I had. I was in a company and we were working with a multi-million dollar international jewelry retailer. They were in Midtown Manhattan. I won't mention which one, but they are a known name. They had a massive issue because they were operating mostly outside the United States with data privacy and security. And this has become a much hotter issue as of late. If you read any newspaper or on social media, it seems
Hmm.
like a day doesn't go by where you don't read of some massive company or some government or some school district or some healthcare provider that's gotten breached. So
Hmm.
we put a system in for them so they could not get breached. They had also had all kinds of issues in HR. HR is a very complicated area, and for those that think they can just do their payroll manually,
Hmm.
now that's probably not a good idea.
Right.
Uh, you can either outsource your payroll or outsource your entire HR solution to a PEO, which is a payroll. Nikki, what's PEO is a payroll, whatever it stands for.
Yeah.
They basically handle your entire HR function, from putting a
Mhm.
manual together to doing your payroll to making sure you get the best employee benefits at the best price. a lot of people may not want to pay their admin fee, but
Mm-hmm.
in this particular case, it saved them a boatload of money.
Mm-hmm.
They also had no inventory management,
Mm-hmm.
which you're in the jewelry business. It doesn't take very much for someone to like, no matter how good your physical security is, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
take much for somebody to make some quick changes, sleight of eye or hand impressions when they're in your store, and they put a fake in there, and they walk out with something worth tens of thousands of dollars. Uh, how is that going to impact your profit? Probably
Mm-hmm.
substantially if you don't have a system in place. And a lot of folks, they just don't have it. They don't want to invest the money in their operations. Anytime you have a chance to invest money for your future, it's
Mm-hmm.
wise to do that, whether it comes to staffing, whether it comes to investing in the right equipment. All of
Mm-hmm.
those things contribute to your long-term success. And what I tell people, especially as it relates to all the breaches going on today, certainly to professional firms who are breached like seemingly every other day,
Mm-hmm.
you've spent a lifetime building up your business, your reputation, your brand, your value. All it takes is one stupid move, one time by one person in your staff. Everything you worked for your entire life could be up
Mm-hmm.
in smoke.
Right.
That's not very good.
Right. So,
So it
like,
kind of underscores that, if you're working with us and you're working with me, I will pinpoint those exact areas because at the end of the day, it's your business.
right.
I look to make your business as efficient, as profitable as I can. That only the major benefit goes to you. It doesn't go to me. It doesn't go to Nikki and I. It doesn't go to NSKT. It goes to
Right.
you, the client. It goes to you, the accounting firm.
So, like, Rick, any like we need to like conclude, right? So, but before concluding, I just want to like give some quick tips, right? Uh, to our CPAs, friends, or attorneys, or the accountants on what key top three areas they should focus.
A couple of areas that I focused on in the past is technology. Obviously, cybersecurity had a massive impact on the way the world operates. It's become even more critical in these COVID times. I can
Mm-hmm.
tell you over the last 35 months since COVID, I've had almost no face-to-face meetings. Everything is done just as we're doing today. That kind of exacerbates the problem. That's
Right.
certainly a niche that you can bring into your practice. We can certainly help you do that. Another
Mm-hmm.
massively profitable area that you can bring into your practice, as Nikki mentioned, the processes. The case study I did a little while ago on the medical manufacturer. He had no
Mm-hmm.
processes. So every time he hired somebody, he went over the same hiring process and would sit down with them for a day. Anytime somebody asked him a question, he'd do the same thing. We've learned the flowchart method. Now, it doesn't mean it's the best method or the
Mm-hmm.
best solution, but if you enable and empower people to improve upon that solution, it will get
Mm-hmm.
better. And once you do it one time and keep improving it, your time as the supervisor, boss, whatever, is dramatically curtailed. So
Right.
those processes really help save time. Time equals money. The other thing that's incredibly profitable, and very few accounting firms do it, is financial work. Now, some of them do partner up with some type of firm. Many of the firms today, sadly, are not. I mean, I worked in one, I'm going to say 15 years ago, and an insurance agent walks in, ecstatic. I just sold $1 million life policy for a business, like a part of buy sell. I
Mm-hmm.
said, well, let me ask you something. What's the business worth? I let it sink in. He said, well, I don't know. I said, well, if the business is worth $20 million, and you sold them $1 million of insurance, and they think they have a long-term solution, you may have committed insurance malpractice.
Right.
It's taking extra time to do some due diligence. And a lot of these firms today just don't do that. I mean, I was on a call yesterday, same thing. Person did not ask how much money the wife was making in retirement, didn't ask what their mortgage rate was. You have to do a full discovery, and most firms don't do that. Now, I happen to partner up with a firm that does. I've learned strategies in the last couple of years that I've been working with them.
Right.
By far and away beat any firm I ever worked with in the preceding 40 something years I've been in business.
Correct.
It's a matter of partnering up with the right firm.
Correct.
And, you bring this into an accounting practice. Let's think about something simple, like a pension plan. I worked about a year or two ago with someone that I helped him with his Medicare planning to help them sell ancillary services to their clients. Well, his accountant had him in a 401k plan. Okay, great. He put away 67 or 68 at the time. He put away $20-something thousand. I said, well, could you? My big issue was I'm paying too much taxes. I said, well, how much could you afford to put away if you could? He said, oh, at least 200,000. I said, okay. With putting away more be an issue for you? It might be. So, okay, if I brought in a solution for $200,000 for you, and you could commit to that for like a period of 3 to 5 years, that's probably going to save you about $70,000 a year in taxes. Is that something you'd be interested in doing? He's, well, absolutely. So it's a matter of asking, what's important to you, my client? This one was taxes. I don't like paying taxes. Now, I said, when you take the money out someday, we have another solution for you that even less people in the business know about. But we can help them take the money out and leverage it up and pay a dramatically lower amount of tax when he takes the money out. And I know there are all kinds of new rules on what you could take out of retirement accounts with the Secure 2.0, which just came out recently. But, when you work with us, you get these kind of not out, you get these not out of the box solutions that everybody does. You get somebody that knows exactly what, how we can help you. And that makes a big difference.
Yeah. So I think that's something like our clients, or probably they should know how we can help them as an NSKT global brand, right? So I think we can help them in a couple of ways, as we mentioned during our webinar. Like, we can help them in doing their cost reduction, right, by implementing the right strategies. We can help them in just repositioning their focus, not just from accounting or taxation, but other key advisory services, right? We can help them to restructure their processes or define their process, right? Or make budgets for them. We can also help them identify a kind of a pricing strategy they should follow. And we can definitely, as the technology is the key for growth of the firm, we can help them implementing the technology. If they are not that much tech savvy, they can come to us and we can help them implement the technology in every part of the business. So I think we have spoken a lot, right? So we will be circulating this a kind of a research paper or a presentation to all of our audience, and we will be sharing the recording also to all of our participants and like the person who was not able to join. And these are the details which you can just reach out or to me or Rick, right? And we are definitely ready to set up a free discovery call, like for 45 minutes or 1 hour, and we can discuss. And I think this is the right time, because many CPAs now, they are active due to tax seasons and they are interacting with their clients. They should tell them about some business solutions. They should tell them how they can expand. They should tell them what challenges they are facing, and they should come up with the solutions, right? And this is the way they can earn more during this tax season. So I think this is the best time to grow their practice.
I agree. And this is not only the best time, but when your clients get the results from their tax returns and you prepared for them, this is the time many of them voice their displeasure and they
Mhm.
look for a different accounting firm.
Right.
So this is an ideal time to do marketing. Now, I found when I had my own practice, years ago, and I still do, I did 90% of my marketing between January 1st and April 15th.
Right.
Why? Because I was the only CPA out there that was actually marketing. Everybody else had their face in their keypad or keyboard. The other point is, if you're attending this, you probably have your own accounting firm, or you have colleagues, or you have other, friends, or you have colleagues that are in the legal industry. Chances are very, very good that they're having some of the issues that we've spoken about today. Your clients probably are. At the end of the day, as I said before, you spent your life building your business. Let's keep it.
Right.
Let's make it more profitable. Let's make it more efficient. Let's make your staff motivated and happy to work with you. Let's dramatically increase the value of your practice. So when you do transition and sell it, you will get max dollars for your firm, not what the firms are getting today.
Correct.
Most firms today think, well, and then I see mergers every other day. The challenge when you merge your firm is from let's say a 50-person firm into a 500-person firm, you're now the little fish in the big pond, which is probably not good. Sometimes firms of equal size merge, and I've seen 3 or 4 of them this year. Merging is not so easy. A lot of firms merge and they demerge because their cultures just not aligned. It's just like any other merger. Firms merge without doing their due diligence. Not only can your lack of cybersecurity have a massive impact, and there have been plenty of fines out there today on that,
Right.
but if your cultures don't merge, your practices won't gel, and the reasons that you maybe merge to bring in some other services will not work well together. So rather than the necessary merge, I think the best people, frankly, to buy out your firm is your staff. If you treat them well and pay them well and give them challenging assignments, they will buy your practice out. If you make your firm into what it could be, as both the AICPA and Intuit, which I mentioned before. And Nikki, I'll share those 2 white papers if I still have them. They're pretty old, so I'll have to really search for them.
Sure.
Feel free to share it and upload it or whatever you're an expert at doing, which I'm
Yeah.
not.
So we will be doing like a kind of a series, right? So we will possibly roll out some polling questions or surveys, like what CPAs want to listen more from you or from me, right? So we can come out with more webinars like this, right? And I think at the last, what I want to say is like the CPAs, they have to come out of their silos, right? So possibly if they want to expand, they have to connect with more and more people, to just more and more business owners, so that they can expand their practice. So I think like we should end the webinar now, right? And I
Well,
thank you all.
Nikki, before we end, let's see if Charo has any questions for us.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, thanks for attending.
sure.
Please, um, keep us in mind. Please recommend us. We're happy to do this again for some of your colleagues and friends. We're certainly happy to do a one-on-one session with you to see how we can help you transition your practice into what it could be. And